The next art style that we're going to look at is a design agency called Eboy. Eboy. So if I click on to do a search on Eboy, you will see that they are famous for their isometric cityscape illustrations, a couple of which I've got up as posters in 208. They also do portraits, so there's a button here for portraits. If I click onto that, you will see a range of their low resolution pixel based portraits, and there's a lot of them. Some of them are very pixelated and some are less so. All of these are very pixelated, very low resolution. So it's the sort of thing that you'd get in a sort of original games graphics. We're going to do one probably about that sort of resolution. So not the really low resolution, probably about that size. So let's think about doing that. So whiz into Photoshop, File, New, and we're going to use the international paper. We're going to use A3. So it's international paper, A3, and the background, you can have background color, transparent. I think we've been using transparent. I'm going to use white this time. Now the big difference here is the resolution, 300 pixels per inch. We're going to change that right down to 12. So this is going to really lower our resolution massively. Okay, click OK, and you'll see that we have got a piece of digital paper here. Right, let's now open. Let's open our photograph. So yet again, I'm going to use Ryan. Click open, and the same thing that we have done before, and that is we click and hold and drag this down from the tabbed view into floating window view. Okay, that allows us to use the move tool and click this and drag it into there. Just going to close the JPEG down. Now the photograph is here, but because of the difference in the resolution, you can see that Ryan has come in massive. So I am going to use Control minus to reduce the size of the preview of the image. I haven't reduced the image, I've just used the magnifying glass to make it a little bit smaller. Go now to Edit, go to Transform, Transform Scale, and you can't actually see the handles because the image that we're going to reduce is so big. So I click Control minus and you'll see that I've got my handles here. Now to make sure that we don't distort Ryan, I'm going to hold down Shift and drag the image down. So I'm holding Shift, drag the image down. Hold Shift, drag the image down. Control plus to zoom in a little bit. I still need to reduce Ryan a little bit more. So Shift, drag. So Shift will do this in proportion. Okay, so that's probably about right. Once I'm happy with that, and I can do Control plus to zoom in, then once I'm happy with the composition and the size, I click this big box, this big tick here, and that renders the image. Now you can already see that it's already started to get pixelated. Let's make a new layer. Okay, so I'm on layer 2. I'm just going to whiz back to layer 1 and I'm going to turn the opacity down. So click and drag that to the left. Okay, probably something a bit like that. Now I need to make sure that I click back on to layer 2, and I'm going to use, underneath the brushes, I'm going to use the pencil tool. Click onto this swatch, make it black. Now let's really zoom in, and this is where we're going to start drawing the outline. I just need to check that my size of my brush is 1 pixel. So if I make it 18 pixels, you'll see it's quite a lot larger. It needs to be 1 pixel. So you click on here, and where the size, you drag it so it says 1. Okay, spacebar. Spacebar is always good for moving your paper around. Okay, and I'm just going to draw in Ryan's eyes with using the mouse. Looks a bit funny when you first start doing it. Whoops. Whoops. What? Go away, please. Okay. Oops. Control Z if I make mistakes. I'm just using the space bar. Put in his nose. Put in his mouth. You can turn this up if it helps you to see what you are doing. Oops, make sure you're on the right layer. Spacebar. Go away, that thing. So spacebar, Control, Alt. I'll keep on this computer. We've got the Windows button, keeps on getting in the way. I'm used to a Mac. Or we can just do Control minus spacebar and carry on drawing all on one layer. So I'm going to whiz around Ryan's face, to his jaw, his chin, whiz around here. I'm doing it really quick. You can spend a bit more time on it. Looks a bit funny there. Whiz around his ear, whiz around his hair. So holding down spacebar, carry on whizzing round. Okay, let's have a look. Oops. Spacebar, Control Alt to zoom out. Okay, turn that off. Yep, that's looking kind of okay, I think. It always looks a bit rubbishy when you look at it with the photograph. Spacebar, let's make sure that I'm on the right layer. Carry on round the neck. As I said, I'm rushing mine because I don't want to go on and on and on. So you quickly whiz through, well, you don't have to quickly, but you whiz round all of the, and if you've got an interesting shirt like Ryan's got on, is checked, you can do that. Whiz round there. I think you get the idea of how to do the outline. Okay. Right, once you have done that, you've got something like this, and then you need to start filling in your the colour of your clothes and your tone. So what I normally do is put this at 100% and then pick a a light tone. So some of his, like his forehead and some of his cheeks, that's lighter tone, and then we've got the darker tone which is in shadow. So let's start off with sampling the light tones here, and you can start, make sure you're on the right layer. In fact, you can make another layer and just call this will be the skin tones, and I'm going to start drawing in and the skin tones that he has got here. Okay. and we've got some here, and we've got some here. Okay, so I'm really drawing in the skin tones. Let's do Control Plus so I can zoom in. And if I turn that off, you'll see what I'm doing. Okay, so these are the light areas of his skin. And remember, this one is on top, so I can sort of draw in, and I'm actually drawing underneath the black line. Let's turn this on again, turn this one up to 100%, and then I'll take a sample of his darker, okay, so around here he's got slightly darker skin tones. Click there again, okay, click onto here, and then we can start working. You can actually make the brush a bit thicker if you want, so, but it's still going to be pretty small. So I'm going to start putting in his darker tones, okay, around here. So that's quite an easy one, this one. It's going to look like he's got a bit of a beard now, but hopefully you get the idea of how to do the Eboy illustration. I've got a couple of, well, you can look at the Eboy website to start off with, but also on the server there is, I think this one here, this one is done by a student. This one's quite interesting actually, because he has done, this one's slightly different because he actually drew, he didn't trace around his image, he actually drew his image. But this is quite nice, and it's got a bit of a surprise to it because he's got his original drawing, which is on this layer. Then also on this layer he's done himself in a hoodie, and as you saw before, he's done himself there with an afro and a beard. So that's quite a fun piece of work. 3 pieces in one. Oops, 3 pieces in one. So that's quite nice. I'm going to save this file, save, and I'll put it in the tutorial file. So this is going to be Eboy 1. And click OK. Okay, so remember to look at Eboy. Look at the example that I've made, and look at the example from a previous student.